Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Sable Hill's Odyssey, out July 19th on A Rising Empire. The album has 11 tracks, 34 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. They are a Japanese metalcore band. Now when it comes to the design of this record, as you could expect from an album with 11 songs in 34 minutes, it's very compact. At times I would say it's even very dense, but that doesn't mean that the album doesn't have mobility. This is a very dynamic, very fluid record from start to finish. An album that's not defined by its design or by its structure. The quality of the individual tracks is rather what defines the experience. So you could have the songs in the format that they are, in the order that they come on the record, or you can change them around. The experience of this album would be exactly the same. The sense of commonality that exists within these songs allow them to alternate places, and you still don't lose what the overall essence of this record is all about. So this is a bonus as far as the new fans are concerned. And what I mean by new fans, I mean this new generation of metal listeners that sometimes just picks songs out of random, listens to playlists, doesn't necessarily sit down and listen to the record from start to finish. The ability that this album has to work for that sort of fan and still work from the more traditional metal fan that wants to go across the entire experience of the record definitely adds value to what this album puts forward. As far as the sound is concerned, this is obviously a metalcore sounding record at its core. I would actually go further and to say that this is a more traditional sounding metalcore record that has a little bit, I don't know if this is even something I can say, it has an old school metalcore sound to it, essence to it, and I think that plays really well into the also addition of some death metal influences into their sound. I think for those that have never heard of Sable Hills before, if you want to compare them or at least offer a line of sight that allows you to better understand what you're going to get yourself into, this band reminds me a lot of Unearth. There's a lot of similarities in the vocal approach, and there's a lot of similarities in the overall soundscape. So this is an album that has that ability to bring in old school metalcore sound, some more modern production values, and then also some death metal elements. This makes the experience very rich. This makes the guitar sound extremely important, but it also makes the sound dense, heavy, and yet still very melodic. Now, when you talk about the guitars, I honestly feel like they are the bread and butter of this record. They are the spinal cord of this album. A lot of the essence of the record, a lot of the heaviness of the record, a lot of the melody of the record starts and ends with the guitar sound. The guitar execution throughout the entire album is phenomenal. That old school metalcore approach to riffing with death metal influences and then a more modern production behind it really increases the quality of the guitar sound, and it allows this album to have this duality of heaviness and melody from the beginning all the way to the end. It's also an album that introduces towards the end of the record some more traditional Japanese folk sounds, and I thought that was very interesting because it brings a very specific fingerprint, it brings a very specific DNA to how this record comes across. I would like them to include more of that in the future because it's a huge part of who they are, and if you can include a little bit of who you are and where you're coming from into your music, you're immediately setting yourself apart from other bands that have a similar sound. So seeing that towards the bitter end of this album perhaps shines a light into what future records could dive a little bit deeper in. But it adds texture, it adds already quality to this record, and definitely an addition that was very welcoming from my side. Now the drum sound on this album is not overpowering, even though some of the heavier songs really rely on the drums to infuse some even more heaviness into the already heavy experience that you're getting specifically out of the guitars. But when you look at this album from a globality standpoint, the guitars are there to make the sound feel like it has substance. They're there to give a little bit more oomph and a little bit more depth to the overall sound experience, but they're never really outshining the impact or the ferocity that you get out of the guitars. Vocally, I enjoyed the clean vocals, I enjoyed the harsh vocals. I felt like this is an album that definitely used the harsh vocals, that approach a lot more frequently, and it's one that works a lot better for this style of sound. You almost could get away with an entire record without any clean vocals, because the sound on this album already had a lot of melody in it, and you need a lot more out of the harsh vocals to bring heaviness into the forefront, or at least to emphasize the overall heaviness of the songs, considering how melodic the guitars are most of the time. I still enjoy the clean vocals on this record. I don't think you need too much of it, not that you got a lot of it to begin with, but the moments where you got the clean vocals, I felt like they added substance to the tracks. They added a little bit of energy to the songs, but like I said, I could have lived without it. Now overall, when I look at this album, I see a record that checks almost all the boxes. It's really hard to listen to this record and not feel driven by it. The heaviness of the album, the melody of the record, the combination of two, using the harsh vocals to infuse more heaviness when the album starts to become a lot melodic. It's an album that has a lot of quality, old school elements, more modern production, standout album across almost all the parameters that you can use to judge a record. An album that feels like a home run to me by Sable Hills. Definitely one of those that people will be talking about throughout this year as one of the better crafted metalcore albums of 2024. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Misfortune. Melodic, heavy, driven opening for this track, and the guitar sound overall is excellent on this song. I love the fact that the track has a lot of movement. It slows down a little bit, becoming a little bit more methodic. That movement, or that slowing of that movement, allows the song to have great texture, great depth, specifically out of the guitars. And I still love how the vocals, the heaviness of the vocals, compensate for that more melodic sound. The drums grow in volume and heaviness, specifically when the breakdown hits, and then you start to see a diffusion or a little bit of the dilution of that heaviness into a more melodic approach, which is going back to the original formula of this song. This gives the record, or the track I should say, a little bit more of a sense of consistency, and you still get those main core elements of melody, heaviness, and harsh vocals that complement the entire song and the entire approach behind this song. Next we have Anthem. Talk about a track that really lives up to its name. This is an anthem of a style song. It has a more brighter opening sound at the beginning, and the clean vocals help define some of that brightness, help define a little bit more of that openness of the song. And then you have the harsh vocals that come in, not only infusing heaviness, but allowing the track to close in a little bit more. This creates a roller coaster ride between the two different sides of the band, the melodic side and the heavier side. Great riffs on this song. The drums shifts well, or helps shift the song forward really well, and the chorus is super hooky. It's a great song. It's a more melodic anthem, but an anthem nevertheless. Last but definitely not least, Bad King, a bigger sounding track, a track that has great guitar performance, great guitar textures, great melodies, great riffs, super killer as far as the guitars are concerned. I feel like from a guitar standpoint, this is perhaps the most diverse, the most textured song that the album offers. It's a track that keeps giving you guitar-wise, and you're never really sure where it's taking you, but it's a track that has a lot of peaks, a lot of valleys, but it moves you through them seamless, allowing all of these different guitar pieces that really dominate the landscape of this song to feel very connected with one another. It's a diverse, dynamic song. Vocally, you feel like there's a little bit more consistent, harsh vocals. There's still some clean vocals on this track, but vocally overall it feels like a song that really needs that consistency out of the harsh vocals in order to infuse some extra heaviness into the song, and then obviously using the clean vocals to bring in some melancholy to this track. One of the most, if not the most textured song on the album, and one that really showcases a lot of diversity guitar-wise from start all the way to the end. This is it. This is Sable Hills with Odyssey, out July 19th on the Rising Empire. Please let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.